For many, this image is a dream come true. Whale and dolphin watching in their natural environment is on the wish list of numerous people around the world. Many fulfil that dream in the waters off the coast of Madeira. These waters are a sanctuary for 28 species of cetaceans, approximately 1/3 of the world's species. Over the years, mankind has placed very significance on the presence of sea mammals in our waters. Some species can be seen all year round, others according to season. The bottlenose dolphin is one of the most common cetacean species. It can usually be seen near to the coast throughout the year. Locally in Madeira, the bottlenose dolphin is also known as water. It is common to see them in small groups, which can vary from a few individuals to dozens of animals. They usually interact with the boats. Another species sighted off the shores of Madeira throughout the year is the short-fin pilot whale. These mammals reach up to 4.5 metres in length and weigh up to 2,500 kilos. This species rarely approaches the boats. For more than a decade, the Madeira Whale Museum has developed several projects which have helped to further identify the species of cetaceans which subsist in these waters. This work has contributed towards an update of the inventory of species which can be found in Madeira, as well as a clearer understanding of their local distribution. Research determined the season of the year in which they are present and their index of relative abundance. On the other hand, it allowed for an assessment of the conservation status of some species and a better understanding of the impact of human activities on these animals. CetaceosMadeira II is a project co-financed by the European Life Plus programme and the municipality of Mexico. It ran between June 2009 and June 2013, with three main goals aimed at the conservation of all cetaceans of the Archipelago of Madeira, with particular emphasis on the bottlenose dolphin and the short-fin pilot whale.
O primeiro objetivo do projeto era o de identificar eventuais áreas importantes para o golfinho roage nas águas do Arquipélago da Madeira, que pudessem ser designadas sítio de interesse comunitário. O segundo objetivo era de melhor compreender a interação entre a atividade comercial de observação de cetáceos, conhecida também por whale watching, e as populações locais destes animais, com o intuito, caso fosse necessário, de estabelecer áreas de operação e a respectiva capacidade de carga. O terceiro objetivo era o de compreender as interações entre as atividades humanas, designadamente as pescas, e as populações de cetáceos, mas já nas águas mais afastadas da costa, no alto mar.
The starting point was data acquired from earlier projects, but also the need to further extend the knowledge on the bottlenose dolphin.
Para além disso, existe a responsabilidade dos Estados designarem áreas de interesse comunitário ou sítios de interesse comunitário no âmbito da Diretiva Habitats. E isto para espécies prioritárias, como é o caso do roage, que veio a se verificar que é uma espécie com uma presença importante na Madeira, e o que nós precisávamos saber era até que ponto é que as águas ao redor da Madeira eram realmente importantes. Por outro lado, ao longo dos últimos anos, a atividade de observação de cetáceos, a atividade comercial, começou a se desenvolver e começaram a surgir algumas preocupações relativamente ao impacto que essa atividade podia ter nas diferentes populações e grupos de espécies de baleias e golfinhos que existem na região. E por isso era necessário compreender melhor a interação entre a atividade e os animais e, por outro lado, também compreender até que ponto é que era necessário ou não estabelecer limites, quer limites espaciais, através da definição de áreas específicas de operação, quer através de limites de operação e limites superiores que estão associados a uma capacidade de carga.
According to the Habitats Directive, the bottlenose dolphin is a classified species of European interest. By means of this directive, the European Union seeks the preservation of biodiversity, whilst promoting a sustainable development. One of the key instruments created was the Natura 2000 network. It is a European ecological network comprised of special areas of conservation on land and at sea, created to assure the re-establishment or maintenance of a favourable conservation status of Europe's most valuable and threatened species and habitats. The Habitats Directive also foresees the surveillance of the conservation status of species of European interest through the monitoring of parameters which indicate their status. This means it is possible to put into place measures in order to reinforce a favourable conservation status if human activities are having a negative impact on the monitored species. The work at sea was carried out by CetaceosMadeira II in waters of the exclusive economic zone of Madeira, an area of circa 454,000 square kilometres, 500 times superior to the entire land surface of the archipelago. It is an area which extends for 200 miles off the coast. These waters are warm and temperate. The underwater topography is characterised by a lack of continental shelf and a rapid increase of depth as the distance from the coast increases. The oceanic archipelagos, like Madeira, are important areas for highly mobile species such as cetaceans. The work at sea was carried out in coastal waters of the islands of Madeira, Porto Santo and the Desertas, as well as the high sea. A substantial part of the research, which covered the 12 nautical mile area off the coast, was carried out on board the Ziphius, a sailing boat belonging to the Whale Museum. Several techniques were used for data collection, which provided answers for project goals number 1 and 2.
Ok, está gravado, pode seguir.
Estas campanhas de mar implicaram a realização de censos náuticos sistemáticos. O que é um censo? Um censo é, como para a população humana, pretendemos com os censos contar e contabilizar as espécies e o número de indivíduos das espécies de cetáceos que ocorrem no Mar da Madeira. Olho para o mar e procuro o quê? Não é só olhar. Tento procurar sinais, pistas que me indiquem que estão ali animais. Um splash na água, um grupo de aves, um dorso de um animal, uma barbatana caudal. E assim que o observador avista um cetáceo, a primeira coisa que faz é dar alerta ao anotador. E esse automaticamente vai fazer o registro da posição da embarcação. Isso é fundamental para a análise posterior dos dados.
In order to understand the connection between the whale watching activities and the areas where these animals occur, project observers carried out surveys on board whale watching boats.
Foram efetuados protocolos com os operadores marítimo-turísticos que viram a ser uma peça-chave especialmente para este objetivo do projeto, para o sucesso deste objetivo. Permitiu a presença de observadores do museu em que registávamos todos os avistamentos e tínhamos um percurso onde registávamos com o GPS registávamos todo o percurso da embarcação. Registamos mais de 500 percursos e ficamos assim com uma ideia de onde é que os barcos operavam, quais as principais áreas da operação dos barcos.
Uma das ferramentas que nós utilizámos para o fazer foi através da fotoidentificação, que é uma metodologia muito fácil de aplicar. Nós vamos para o campo, tiramos fotografias dos animais à sua barbatana dorsal, neste caso do golfinho é a barbatana dorsal, e é como se fosse uma impressão digital que fica marcada e nós reconhecemos aquele indivíduo como sendo único. Atribuímos-lhe um código alfanumérico e ele é adicionado a um catálogo que nós temos na nossa instituição já desde 2001.
O terceiro e último passo para este objetivo, em termos de metodologia, uma experiência foi conduzida através de 2 postos de vigia utilizados no Funchal, a principal área da operação da atividade, em que tentamos saber a disponibilidade de animais através com binóculos de longo alcance e vimos desses animais encontrados quais é que eram também detectados pelas embarcações. E assim ficamos com uma ideia de qual a percentagem dos animais que eram encontrados pelas embarcações.
The data retrieved on board the Ziphius was later analysed, resorting to spatial modelling. Beyond the 12 nautical mile, and due to the extension of the economic exclusive zone of Madeira, tuna fishing boats were used as observation platforms, covering the tuna fishing routes.
O que nós fazíamos a bordo basicamente era recolher informações relativamente à existência de cetáceos nestas águas, que espécies é que ocorriam, qual era o comportamento destas. Verificávamos também a existência de lixos de tráfego e se existia ou não interação entre as pescas e os cetáceos, ou seja, o que nós estávamos aqui a tentar pretender era se existe ou não impacto das atividades humanas sobre os cetáceos. E esta era a informação que nós recolhemos a bordo. Com recurso ao GPS, nós registávamos todos os percursos efetuados. Cada vez que avistávamos um cetáceo, registávamos. Todos os estados de lixos e tráfego marítimo era sempre com um registro georreferenciado. E tudo era anotado em fichas de papel e posteriormente inseridos no computador.
In order to enable the study of these highly mobile animals, such as the cetaceans, fieldwork was carried out in vast numbers. All in all, CetaceosMadeira I and II, Maceitos, Golfinixo and Imaceitos have covered 48,000 kilometres of navigation, along with 10,000 photographs of the bottlenose dolphin, and a total of 41 volunteers, 21 of which were involved in CetaceosMadeira II.
12 graus. 12.
Between 2001 and 2012, considering all methods and techniques used for the fieldwork, 2,357 sightings were registered, 423 of which were bottlenose dolphins. Data analysis provided by the systematic nautical surveys and photo identification made it possible to determine that approximately 500 bottlenose dolphins occur in the coastal waters of Madeira. Circa 1/4 of those animals use these waters on a regular basis, for which they are regarded as residents or associated to the islands. Throughout the year, their presence varies, as the number of sightings in the summer and autumn months increases. Bottlenose dolphins were sighted in the coastal waters around all the islands of the archipelago to the 2,000-metre depth contour. However, this study reveals a preference for certain areas. The sea off the north coast of the Ponta de São Lourenço, the channel between Madeira and the Desertos, the southeast of Madeira, as well as the southern region of Porto Santo. All these areas have a depth inferior to 1,000 metres, which is the preferred feeding site for this species. Besides feeding, the bottlenose dolphins use these waters to socialise, rest and reproduce. This information is important for project goal number 1 of CetaceosMadeira II, regarding the identification of important areas for the bottlenose dolphin in the coastal waters of the Archipelago of Madeira, with the aim of establishing adequate Marine Natura 2000 network sites for this species. The bottlenose dolphin is potentially one of the most vulnerable species of cetaceans exposed to human activities on the archipelago of Madeira. This vulnerability has to do with the species' coastal distribution, affecting mainly resident animals, which strongly depend on the waters of Madeira and the quality of their habitat for survival. Potential threats may include the whale watching activity, the code of conduct adopted by boats used for recreational purposes, the activity of naval military sonars, as well as solid waste, especially plastic. These threats may represent an impact of some sort, as bottlenose dolphin distribution coincides with the southern and southeast part of Madeira, area where most of the human activities occur.
o facto de cerca de 125 golfinhos roazes escolherem as águas da Madeira como sua casa para aqui viverem e desenvolverem atividades importantes à sua sobrevivência, como sejam a reprodução, a alimentação e a socialização. E o facto destas águas serem ponto de passagem, paragem e alimentação para milhares de golfinhos em migração no Atlântico justificam claramente a criação de um sítio de interesse comunitário nas águas da Madeira. Por outro lado, a criação deste sítio de interesse comunitário irá contribuir claramente para a coerência e interconectividade da rede Natura 2000, estabelecendo uma ponte entre sítios de interesse comunitário já estabelecidos em proposta nos Açores, nas Canárias, na Península Ibérica, e trazendo claramente uma mais-valia para a conservação desta espécie no Atlântico.
The proposed area encompasses the coastal waters surrounding the islands of Madeira, Porto Santo and the Desertos, between the coast and the 2,500 metre depth contour, which all in all represents a total surface of 5,500 square kilometres. This area includes all the important habitats for the bottlenose dolphin of the archipelago. Its vast dimension is justified by the great mobility of the species. The experience from other sites of community importance for highly mobile species such as the bottlenose dolphin has shown that such areas should be vast in order to comprise not only the critical habitat identified at the time of its creation, but also to accommodate natural fluctuations within the distribution area. But, in practical terms, what actually changes with the creation of a site of community importance?
Um dos aspectos que muda é que passa a haver a monitorização da espécie. Com isso é possível detectar alterações e, caso seja necessário, tomar medidas que permitam conciliar as atividades humanas e o estado de conservação da espécie. É preciso ter em conta que a criação de um sítio de interesse comunitário não implica o fim ou a limitação das atividades humanas. Manter o estado de conservação favorável do golfinho de roaz nas águas da Madeira traz benefícios não apenas ambientais e ecológicos, contribuindo claramente para um meio marinho equilibrado, mas também traz benefícios culturais e socioeconómicos, por exemplo, contribuindo para a sustentabilidade da atividade whale watching e para a sua valorização.
Over the years, action has been taken towards maintaining a favourable conservation status of these animals on the island. In 1986, a law was put into force banning all capture, handling and slaughter of cetaceans in these waters. The non-licensing of gill nets was also decided upon, along with the promotion of the art of selective fishing. Besides this, measures were taken to regulate whale watching activity. Whale watching is one of the activities developed in the coastal waters of Madeira. It is carried out by recreational tourism companies dedicated to boat excursions which include whale and dolphin watching. In Madeira, it started in the 90s on the south coast of the island. Over the years, the number of companies has increased, and on a daily basis, more than a dozen boats leave the port of Funchal and other points of the island for a journey along the coast. In 2004, the Whale Museum proposed a code of conduct with rules regarding the observation of whales and dolphins. The aim was to minimise the stress these boats may cause on the animals. Though voluntary, the code of conduct was adopted by the majority of the companies in this sector and served as a basis for the regional decree law, which stipulates the regulation of the activity of observation of marine vertebrates of the autonomous region of Madeira. This regional decree contemplates a code of conduct, the definition of areas of operation and their corresponding carrying capacity. The intention is to create a balance between the economic and touristic interest and the conservation of cetacean species of these waters. Although survey records include 28 species of whales and dolphins in the waters of Madeira, approximately 86% of sightings registered by whale watching boats belong to 5 species considered to be the most abundant and therefore with a higher probability of being sighted. The bottlenose dolphin and the short-finned pilot whale are 2 of the most sighted species. they are particularly vulnerable to human activities due to their all-year-round presence and because there are resident or island-associated groups of these species. The other three species are the short-beaked common dolphin, the Atlantic spotted dolphin, and the bride's whale, all of seasonal presence. The common dolphin is mainly present during the winter and spring, and the other two species in the summer and the autumn. The remaining species represent a small percentage of sightings or are simply non-observed due to rare or occasional presence, avoidance behaviours, or difficulty to sight at sea. All these cetaceans depend on the waters of Madeira for crucial survival activities such as feeding, resting, socialising, reproduction, and caring for their young. The distribution and manner in which each species uses these waters varies according to their unique biology and ecology. The bottlenose dolphin shows preference for shallower waters, with a higher presence off the east coast of the island of Madeira and the south of Porto Santo. The short-fin pilot whale prefers the deeper waters of the southeast coast of Madeira, where it feeds, socialises and rests. The Atlantic spotted dolphin and the common dolphin can be found in all waters of the archipelago, though the Atlantic spotted dolphin prefers the south coast of Madeira and the common dolphin the extreme points of the island as well as the east coast of the desertos and Porto Santo. These 5 species are the most vulnerable to pressure resulting from the whale watching activity, especially those with resident groups. If the activity is not regulated, it may lead to more serious consequences. An adequate observation conduct is a way of reducing the impact of the activity on the animals. Over the years, whale watching companies have learned that the quality of the observation is more important than the quantity of animals sighted. It is crucial that the whales and dolphins approach the boats freewillingly. The CetaceosMadeira II foresaw the definition of areas of operation for the whale watching boats in the waters of the Madeira archipelago and their respective carrying capacity. The carrying capacity was calculated based on 2 parameters: the maximum number of whale watching boats authorised to operate in the area and the maximum number of daily trips allowed per boat. The CetaceosMadeira II suggested the definition of 5 areas of operation for whale watching boats, each with distinct carrying capacities. The researched area of the south coast was considered an area of reference on the assumption that the current level of operation in the area is sustainable and within the limits defined by law. A weighing factor for areas such as the northeast and the southeast coast of Madeira was reducing activity pressure in light of their importance for the designated target species. The definition of areas of operation and their carrying capacity helps to maintain the pressure on the animals within acceptable limits. It also allows for activity development. This set of measures contributes towards the conservation and well-being of the observed animals, as well as the healthy and sustainable growth of the activity in the region. Before the project went ahead, knowledge on the cetaceans in the waters of Madeira was restricted to the coastal areas. With this in mind, a project goal was considered with the aim of expanding that knowledge to the offshore waters, that is, at a distance beyond the 12 nautical miles. Project goal number 3 considered the surveillance of the conservation status of cetacean species in the offshore waters of Madeira and the assessment of the impact of the human activities on whales and dolphins in these remote waters.
Nos últimos 10 anos o trabalho, por razões logísticas e financeiras e outras, realizou-se muito junto à costa da Madeira, que é sem dúvida a área onde há a maior presença de cetáceos. No entanto, a Madeira tem sobre a sua responsabilidade tem a zona económica exclusiva, que é uma área extensa, que tem bancos submarinos e onde se desenvolve um conjunto de atividades humanas, designadamente atividades de pesca. E por isso era importante compreender até que ponto é que, para além das águas costeiras, existiam outras zonas de importância para os cetáceos e até que ponto é que os cetáceos que utilizavam as águas do alto mar, offshore da Madeira, tinham interações negativas com atividades humanas. E foi nesse sentido que integramos este objetivo no projeto, de forma a ser feita essa monitorização e entendermos até que ponto é que havia problemas.
Fieldwork that was carried out in the offshore waters of the Economic Exclusive Zone of Madeira was regarded as an opportunity to locate and identify the occurring species, as well as determine that index of relative abundance. Simultaneously, efforts were held to determine potential existing threats and that impact on the animals. Team members boarded 10 out of the 19 tuna fishing vessels in a collaboration effort which involved the whole fleet. On board, project observers followed 364 fishing events, which resulted in 203 sightings in the offshore waters. Amongst this set of species, the common dolphin represented 29% of the sightings. The remaining were of other species of dolphins and large whales.
Nós vimos cerca de 11 espécies de cetáceos, sendo a mais avistada e a mais abundante o golfinho comum. A razão pela qual provavelmente é a espécie mais avistada e mais abundante tem muito a ver com a nossa localização do próprio esforço. Nós concentramos o nosso esforço entre março e setembro. Os meses de inverno e de primavera são meses em que temos uma grande abundância de golfinhos comuns. Nós temos um grande esforço nesta altura do ano. Nós pensamos que a razão pela qual o golfinho comum é das espécies mais vistas advém desse facto. Daí que nós queremos expandir o nosso, se continuarmos com a monitorização, queremos expandir esta metodologia, este estudo para todo o ano, para que tenhamos uma cobertura de todo o ano e da ZE total.
Data gathered by the onboard observers determined that there are no significant impacts of this fishing activity on the cetaceans in the offshore waters. Neither were other human activities considered to have a negative impact on the cetaceans.
Nós, com este barco nos Ateneiros, queríamos essencialmente determinar se existiam ou não ameaças para os cetáceos nas águas offshore. E o que nós conseguimos retirar desta informação foi que, de facto, o impacto das atividades humanas, ou seja, do lixo, do tráfego marítimo e da própria interação entre os cetáceos e as pescas é muito reduzida. É reduzida. O que significa que não há assim um impacto tão grande sobre os cetáceos nas águas offshore.
Despite the different conservation statuses of the species found in the offshore waters, survey results show that no significant impacts are felt. This does not mean that nothing should be done. It's quite the opposite. It is important to guarantee the future surveillance of these waters.
Quais são os jogos que nós vamos fazer?
Sobre as baleias.
Sobre as baleias e sobre os animais.
One of the key aspects of the project was community involvement, especially from the schools. Several activities were developed, such as an awareness campaign, teacher training including detailed explanations on the project and the Whale Museum, or the travelling exhibition dedicated to the Natura 2000 network, which visited all the Madeira municipalities. Children were faced with an artistic challenge. They were invited to decorate short-fin pilot whale and bottlenose dolphin models through the LIFE Project.
O que se fez foi recriar estas espécies em modelos 3D de esferovite, que depois nós colocamos nas escolas para elas realizarem uma intervenção artística. As escolas tinham total liberdade para decorar os modelos, desde que utilizassem materiais reutilizáveis, para passarmos também a mensagem da proteção ambiental. No final resultaram 18 modelos muito interessantes e muito bonitos que constituíram uma exposição temporária também chamada Baleiarte. Associada a esta decoração das escolas, tivemos ainda o prazer de ter a artista plástica madeirense Patrícia Somares, que decorou um modelo de baleia piloto tropical, a que ela chamou as baleias que cruzavam os oceanos. Esta peça de arte faz parte do Museu da Baleia e foi um prazer para nós ter a colaboração desta artista.
Sabem o nome desta baleia?
Não.
Tem a cabeça quadrada?
Cachemar.
Boa, gostei.
Students of the 4th grade at a school in Mexico carried out a creative writing challenge. The result was Pintarolas and the Future of the Ocean, a book dedicated to the chosen mascot of the Whale Museum.
Fomos semanalmente à escola de Mexico, reunimos-nos com os alunos na hora de biblioteca escolar e primeiro começamos por explicar o que eram os cetáceos e a partir das informações que nós lhes dávamos, pedimos-lhes para eles criarem textos criativos, em que eles tinham a liberdade para escolher as personagens, em que eles tinham a liberdade para escolher a forma como se iam exprimir. Tanto podia ser num texto escrito, como num poema, numa adivinha, numa anedota, e resultou um livro com estas várias tipologias de escritas.
In a not-so-remote past, the presence of mainly sperm whales in the waters of Madeira was regarded differently. They were a source of income and therefore legally hunted. Canissal worked as the embarkation port of these small boats which hunted these sea giants in order to extract oil, whale flour, ivory and the valuable ambergris. Since 1981, this reality has changed. Cetaceans can swim freely in these waters and delight the hundreds of visitors who fulfill a dream via a whale watching experience. Whales and dolphins continue to be regarded as a source of income, though presently only through the whale watching activity, which is now ruled by law. It is important that this activity coexists with the conservation status and areas of these species. Besides being an institution linked to science and the search for knowledge, the Whale Museum is also a tribute to the bond between the people of Madeira and the sea, especially the population of Canissal. Dedicated to the conservation of nature, the museum includes an exhibition route demonstrating the importance that cetaceans have always had for the people of this island. The Madeira Whale Museum portrays the life story of those connected to the sea via multimedia experiences. Whilst the beauty of the underwater world of these marine mammals delights visitors, the team at the Whale Museum continues its efforts towards research. The surveillance of the species will continue. Out there, in the ocean, whales and dolphins will continue to swim freely in the waters of Madeira.